I'm Ava Voss. I graduated from Woodbury High School this past year, and I'm interviewing Janelle Schmitz, Community Development Director. All right, I have a few questions to ask you. My first one is, how do you address challenges or barriers that you face in leadership?
Well, it depends on what the challenge or the barrier is. So the first thing you want to try to figure out is, where is the challenge coming from? Is it interior or is it exterior? Once you know the source, and you can dig into that a little bit deeper. The nice thing about working in the public sector is a lot of us share information with each other. It's not proprietary. So maybe you can find another city or another department that's gone through a similar struggle and then ask them for advice. I've learned to really rely on others and seek out answers from others and help to identify what those strategies might be.
Can you share examples of successful initiatives where women have played key leadership roles and made significant difference in the community?
Sure, a couple that come to mind right away are two things that we're going through right now. One is the Central Park expansion and renovation, and that's being led by Michelle Okada, who's our Parks and Recreation Director. And the other is our permanent water treatment plant expansion, which is being led by Mary Van Milligan, our Public Works Director. So two very influential women in our leadership role here at the city, leading two very important and critical projects. I think the other thing that when I had this question posed to me, I thought of our mayors. We currently have Mayor Ann Burt, and prior to her we had Mayor Mary Giuliani Stevens, both very passionate, experienced, intelligent mayors who did great things, worked on very big strategic initiatives, and really led our city through some challenging times and growth opportunities, and really led us well.
What's your biggest lesson you've learned as a leader?
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is to keep learning. If you stop learning, you stop growing, and so there's always an opportunity to learn. You never quite master everything perfectly because conditions always change. So that is something to kind of keep an open mind, to look for those opportunities where you can improve or do things better. To be really humble is another thing to learn in leadership, that you will make mistakes, that those are opportunities to learn from. To reach out to others, to not be afraid to ask for constructive criticism, and to have some thick skin that goes with that, and really kind of dig deep and look in the mirror and see, what could I do differently? What could I do to bring a better resolution to this problem or this issue that we're facing? And I think the other thing is, again, listening to understand is really another opportunity, is making sure you really take that time to dive deep into things and really get that stakeholder input to understand those perspectives.
How do you handle stress and stay organized?
Well, I always feel I can be more organized. I love to make lists, and I like to do the old-fashioned kind of handwritten list, because there's a lot of satisfaction in crossing something off my list. Usually it's replaced by 3 or 4 more new things that are coming on that list. But that really just kind of keeps me focused to make sure that I have that all in one spot. Okay, here's what I need to do. You know, there's certainly stress with any job, and I try to deal with it by, again, just trying to be centered, trying to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can, to seeking out, help from others. And while this may seem like a big challenge right now, we'll get through it, and I'm going to learn from it, and on the other side, there'll be great things. And sometimes going through those biggest challenges are the biggest learning opportunities, and they really help you to grow. So after you get through them, it's sort of like having a baby. You go through the labor, and it's like, oh, this is intense. But in the end, you have this really beautiful new child. And I think the same thing with some of the challenges. You go through them, they're not always pretty when you're going through them, but when you get through to the other side, you've learned a lot, you've grown, and hopefully you've left yourself better and the place better.
What qualities do you believe are essential for effective leadership and community development?
I think listening and caring, especially in the public sector. We have a lot of stakeholders, and again, our stakeholders are internal. I have a group of 25 folks in my department, but I also have other departments within the city, and then I have almost 80,000 residents, and lots of business opportunities, lots of business owners, lots of business employees that come to work here, people who come to visit here, they're all my stakeholders. So really caring and being passionate about public service. If you're going to work in the public sector, you have to kind of do it for those reasons. And so again, that's a big part of it. And then listening. I really think that's how you learn. That's how you understand the various perspectives that are coming your way.
How do you foster a culture of collaboration and inclusivity within your team and the community?
Again, listening, but one thing I did specifically with my team is I scheduled something called stay interviews. So I meet with my team typically once a year, probably once every 18 months, where I bring each of them in individually and schedule a decent amount of time to just have a sit down with them, find out what's on their mind, what's working, what's not, what are their concerns, get to know them personally so that I can, make them feel like they're part of the team and not just another employee, but an actual colleague and friend. And so that's part of what I do to foster that inclusivity and collaboration. I certainly want to make sure that, again, we listen to those various perspectives because they're bringing things from maybe an angle or a perspective that I hadn't considered. And so I want to make sure that I'm looking kind of that 360-degree field of vision, if you will, and that really helps to bring them in and talk to them one-on-one.
Can you share an example of a challenging project you led and how you managed to overcome the obstacles?
I took this job in the beginning of 2020, just as COVID was hitting. So it's not really a project, but certainly it was a big obstacle. We had never been through anything like that before, and I was a brand new leader in this role. So that is something I kind of dove head in because we kind of had to. So we had half of my team was working remotely and half was in the office. And so how do you as a new leader bring this team together? And so I made sure that I scheduled lots of meetings. They were on Teams or virtual meetings with some people, again, being in person. I made sure I came in every few days to make sure, even though I was working remotely, I came in to check on those that were in the office to make sure that they felt they had that support and had what they needed to get the job done. So that was, establishing that early communication about COVID and about those changing conditions, but also just about business. We had to change how we did business drastically. And so, their expectations, what are we supposed to do? How do we handle this? So that was, I think, the biggest challenge that I probably had, and I had it right away.
What strategies do you use to engage and motivate community members to participate in development projects?
In Woodbury, we have a lot of engagement strategies, and one of those that's probably unique from a lot of other communities is we require a neighborhood meeting for some of our development projects, and so it's a chance to get in front of a neighborhood on a little more casual, informal basis where the developer's sort of showing, here's what we're planning to do, get some early contact with those residents, feedback, and even time to maybe adjust things on the plan prior to it getting in front of the Planning Commission or City Council. And a lot of times we're able to make those subtle changes that address those early concerns by residents, and then things go much more smoothly when it goes to Planning Commission or Council. We also have, through our communication channels on our website, our In Touch system, we have a development map that shows what's happening in the city. You can click on a little pin on the map and it'll tell you what that development proposal is. It'll give you a staff contact if you want more information. Our In Touch system is an email notification system. You can sign up to get email notifications when new development is happening or other things. And so we really do value that stakeholder engagement and feedback, and we're continuing to grow that and to make that more effective as people are bombarded with more information. How do we make sure they get this information, that they see it, and that they do take advantage of those opportunities?
What advice would you give to someone aspiring to take on a leadership role in community development?
Leadership comes in all forms, and it starts at the informal level. So you don't have to be appointed as a supervisor or something, a formal title of leader. You can do things by volunteering, by stepping up, stepping out of your comfort zone, asking to take on an assignment that's maybe a little more challenging, showing that you're interested in things by doing additional research or different types of activities that bring added value to the team. And the more you do that, you're going to be seen and noticed, and then you're going to continue to get those challenging projects, and then hopefully, down the road that leads to other leadership opportunities. But don't be afraid to kind of step outside of your comfort zone and really, ask for those opportunities, especially if it's something that's of interest to you or of passion to you. Really, really go for those opportunities and make that known to your boss or to your supervisor or to your colleagues, and just kind of step out of that comfort zone.
Yeah. What do you enjoy most about being a leader in community development?
Well, I think the thing that I really enjoy most about this job is the variety that it offers. I've been with the city for 28 years, 4 years in this particular position, but 28 years overall. So back in 1996, Woodbury was a totally different community. And so just to watch the evolution, watch things progress, new ideas, new business opportunities, even new types of housing, new initiatives that the city has given to us to work on has really been exciting and enjoyable. I have a great team of staff as well that also make my job very enjoyable. They're great at what they do, they're passionate about public service, and we like to have a lot of fun as well, so we're a good team that way. And then I would be really remiss if I didn't say one of the great things about working in Woodbury is the leadership that we have at the elected level. Very collaborative, very cooperative, communicative. They are really in it for the right reasons to make Woodbury a better place. Very happy to have a very good leadership team, both at the elected level and at our city staff level.
How do you handle disagreements in your team?
You know, I call it listening to understand. So many times when somebody comes to you with a problem, find yourself listening and you want to respond. So you're thinking, oh, I'm going to answer this way, or here's what I'm going to say to that. And then as you're preparing that response in your head, you miss some of what they say. So it's really slowing down and listening, really listening to hear them and to understand them. And even in the end, if you don't agree with them and you come up with a solution that maybe isn't what they wanted, hopefully they feel heard and they feel like you took the time to really understand their perspective and where they were coming from. And that's really how I try to lead my team, is to hear them, to understand their perspective. And then if I can't maybe give them what they want, or I can't settle a disagreement in the way that they would have wanted me to, I can explain the why. And I think the why goes a long way to making them feel heard and valued. And so that is, again, probably the number one thing you can do in dealing with disagreements. And again, listening to all perspectives, not just the one person who's coming in. There's usually multiple sides to a story, so you've got to look at all of that together and collectively, and then try to sort that out.
Thank you for answering my questions.
You're welcome. So I understand you're going to the University of Iowa this fall. Tell me what you're going to study and how are you looking at through kind of that leadership lens?
I plan to study business finance and to incorporate leadership throughout my 4 years at Iowa. I plan to seek out new opportunities and be able to go out of my comfort zone to do things that I am interested in and just work as a team and help others out.
Well, that's exciting, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.